Last few videos, we spoke of the concept of the mental diet and the importance of maintaining an inner dialogue that is in relation to your vision, your desire, that which you want to see brought forth. The premise of this conversation is stimulated by reflections on Maxwell Maltz's book, Psycho-Cybernetics. In this book, he speaks of the concept of self-image identity. It's very important that we understand this to a higher degree. Now, this is something we've discussed before, and we're going to constantly discuss this because it's important to understand that when we're applying the mental diet, what we're also suggesting is to maintain the ideal state of mind of what you desire. For example, when you see yourself at the end result of already accomplishing what you desire in your imagination, the success, we recognize that we find ourselves motivated and moving in that direction of fulfilling that vision. That is because we have, in that moment, embodied an identity, a self-image, a concept of self. It is then, you could say, our responsibility to maintain it, be persistent in it, consistent on it, because then whatever we experience on the journey tends to make sense. We understand. This is also said to be an embodiment of high levels of self-esteem or self-confidence. Now, Maxwell Maltz says it really well, and a quote here from his book, Psycho-Cybernetics. A human being always acts and feels and performs in accordance with what he imagines to be true about himself and his environment. For imagination sets the goal picture which our automatic mechanism works on. Goal picture. So it's like a compass. Our self-image is a compass, guiding us, revealing to us a pathway to our fulfillment of the desire, the vision. And this self-image, or the identity, is an important construct, and it is something that we want to saturate our mind with if we want to maintain a more flow-based journey to our destination. So the self-image is revealed when we see ourselves in our imagination doing the thing that would reveal the success. We also said in the last video that a belief system or concept of self, which represents a belief structure, may resemble one vision in which one person would adhere to it or connect with it, and that same belief system might not be true for another vision. I gave the distinct example of going down the pathway of creating success in the entrepreneurial world versus going down the pathway of creating success in the corporate world. Both are two distinct pathways, although they have commonalities and overlap. And the same is to be said about the different journeys that we are all on in this life, because some beliefs may be true for one person, but they might not be true for another person. Now, this is important to remember, but not to overthink, and to rather understand that your embodiment is resembling a belief system, sometimes referred to as a body of beliefs. Self-image. Maxwell Maltz states, skill in any performance, whether it be sports, in playing the piano, in conversation, or in selling merchandise, consists not in painfully and consciously thinking out each action as it is performed, but in relaxing and letting the job do itself through you. So what he's referring to is allowing the authentic and true self-image that is reflective of the vision to express the ideal thoughts, emotional integration, and behaviors to bring forth the vision. Now, those of you that are artists, performers in performing arts, or athletes will know exactly what I'm referring to right here. We call this being in the zone, or as I refer to sometimes as autotelic, or as we discussed in the book The Kabbalion, the stage of involution. It is a form of flow, deep engagement. This is the effect of the mental diet, because our mind has been so saturated by thoughts, assumptions, beliefs that seems to fluctuate us into different states of mind all throughout the day. We move into different states of mind all throughout the day. What we want is a persistent and a consistent state. Why? That way we feel more connected and we understand things and we have more meaning. And this is very expressive as far as output goes in performance, because if you're an artist and you're in the flow, one with what you imagine, and you allow yourself to be the conduit of expression through your artistic form of expression, it will be revealed in the performance or in your painting or in the entrepreneurial space, your product, your service, or way of dealing with others along the journey. So in other words, what we do is we practice what we discussed in the 7-day mental diet. I'll put a link in the description, as well as the last video, so we could saturate the mind with what is related to the vision, which is the embodiment or the self-image. Now we'll talk about ways of how to do this, but before we get into it, let's get into a light discussion, although we've discussed it many times, but it's important to bring this up again, on the distinction between the conscious and the subconscious. So as mentioned many times, mind has the ability to take things apart, and then we put it back together and see it as one. This creates the oneness and the unity. So we say we have a conscious mind. And our conscious mind is the watchman at the gate. Its chief function is to protect the subconscious mind from false impressions. So we practice the mental diet to observe what we are identifying with as far as thought processes that bring us into different states of mind. We said dwelling in, so it's not the negative thought, but the dwelling in the negative thought that causes us to go into different states of mind. So we can go into whatever kind of labels you want to put into the different states of mind, but you'll know when you are not in the ideal state of mind, when you don't feel the naturalness of the day-to-day journey towards your vision. Now, I'll reflect back on the entrepreneurial journey because it's far easier for me and many others who have been in it for an extended period of time to maintain this ideal state of mind, embodiment of the entrepreneur. In the earlier stages, you would fluctuate back and forth. What I would notice is in the last few years when I was in corporate, I would go into a different state of mind when I would go home and work on my business, and I would get in the zone. I would become autotelic with it, and I would stay up sometimes till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, knowing I had to wake up the next day at 7 a.m. And I didn't want to go to work. And when I go to work, I felt a disconnect. I felt I was living two lives. I knew that I was now embodying more so the self-image in relation to the entrepreneurial vision. And at one point, I was embodying the self-image in relation to the corporate goals, because I could have gone down two different pathways. One, moving up into corporate, into higher level executive and so forth. Or I chose the entrepreneurial path because that's the path that I wanted for the next phase of my journey. Now, there was a conflict. It's like I would have to pretend to be someone I'm not in one reality, which was in previous times my home reality or who I was. And then when I go home, I got to be who I am, which is the entrepreneurial reality, which was the end result of entrepreneurial success. I became embodied with it. But I was fluctuating back and forth, until I made the decision to leave and do it full time. So then we got the subconscious mind. Whatever your conscious mind assumes or believes to be true, your conscious mind will accept and bring to pass. Believe in good fortune, divine guidance, right action, as quoted from Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And he also states, the infinite intelligence within your subconscious mind can reveal to you everything you need to know at every moment of time and point of space, provided you are open-minded and receptive. Now this is interesting. Once we have embodied the self-image, what happens is we leave our mind open and receptive within. We're guided from within into related thoughts, related ideas, related inspiration, related actions, and what is in harmony with our vision. But because our previous concepts of self or identification or beliefs about who we were, let's say before, still seems to be there within the subconscious mind, we may experience what is called confusion. That's why it's important to recognize and reflect upon every day the different meaning that we're giving to the different interpretations that we're having on the day-to-day journey, as well as understanding where we are allowing certain impressions to fall into the subconscious mind by not practicing conscious awareness on the kind of information we're consuming, and even deeper, the interpretations we're giving to that information. Someone asked me a question the other day about watching certain movies and the impression on your subconscious mind. And I said to him, a while back, it used to be a challenge for me because I would watch certain movies and would have what we would call disempowering programming in it. And then what I realized is the theater would play out in my behaviors and my observing of reality. I would see aspects of the movie play out in theater. And I also recognize that I want to still be able to watch those movies, but I don't want to be impressed by what was going into my subconscious via those movies. I then discovered that I can catch the interpretation. So as I would watch the movies, in my mind, I would not identify with it. I would notice that my interpretations were more real-time, assuming that this was just a potentiality that exists, but it's not in harmony with my vision, and this is a source of entertainment rather than something that I believe in. As nuanced as this may seem, many of us watch different sources of information and don't recognize that we're being impressed by it. So what I always suggest is, when in doubt, don't consume the information. And when you get to a certain point, you'll be able to discern from that information. Because at the end of the day, most likely on the entrepreneurial journey, you're going to be communicating with many different people and consuming large volumes of information, as well as people reaching out to you and presenting different kinds of information. And by maintaining a mental diet, you'll notice that two things. Number one, there'll be less elements that seem to be in disharmony and not related to your vision as far as information goes, as well as you'll start to notice that you'll be able to real-time catch yourself if you are identifying certain meaning based on previous concepts of self or states of mind that are not related to your vision, and change the interpretation within. Such as, for example, if someone offers you an opinion in which you feel disempowered, you feel it in your subconscious, they said something to you and you feel disempowered. You're able to real-time in the moment recognize that that was an opinion, and you can change how you relate to it. So you say, perhaps that's true from a different belief system or a different perspective or a different reality. But my reality is one that's in harmony with the vision. Now, you won't necessarily be going through this whole inner dialogue that I just referenced in the moment, because it'll be more of a knowingness. But however, that way of thinking is what I refer to as accurate thinking. And watch the video I did on accurate thinking and intuitive understanding. So that is how we work with the conscious and the subconscious. Allow what is related to saturate the mind in the subconscious, and use the conscious mind to guard from false impressions, recognizing that what our goal is here is to maintain the ideal state of mind, or the embodiment of your desire, which is the self-image that you know in relation to your vision. For example, when you have a goal, when you have a desire to bring something forth, and you step into that reality in your imagination, then what you'll notice is that you'll start to resonate with different things. Maybe not the same things that you resonated with before, such as the example that I gave when I then decided to go down the entrepreneurial pathway. What was once true in one reality no longer became true in another reality. And what is true in the reality that was selected is not necessarily true in the other reality, although realities can have both truths at the same time. So now the way we do this is to maintain momentum. So what we want is momentum. And there's a saying that says the objects in motion tend to stay in motion. Now, what we want is to recognize that we've been fluctuating perhaps into different states of mind, different belief systems, for whatever the reason may be. And we want to maintain that momentum. We call this building momentum, which is done in the mind, to stay consistent. And we do this in these 4 ways. Number 1, think thoughts that are positively related to your goal. By participating in the mental diet videos that we talked about in the last 2 videos, what you'll notice is that because you're not identifying with what we would call the negative thoughts, you'll be more able to allow, as Joseph Murphy puts it, the infinite intelligence within your subconscious mind to reveal to you everything you need to know at every moment of time and point of space, provided you are open-minded and receptive. So then you are more receptive. What you'll then notice is thoughts in relation to your goal. You'll be able to see things in the 5-sensory world as opportunities rather than obstacles. If you see an obstacle, you'll have a better ability to understand how to translate that over to an opportunity, to be able to convert it over to an opportunity. Then we also want to put behaviors in place that emphasize the related thoughts. So as mentioned in my flow-based day video, there's certain things that I do to maintain a flow-based state of mind. I recommend watching that video, such as morning routine. Why? Because I get creative thinking while I'm in the morning routine, plus other factors that allow me to maintain that self-image. And that morning routine and the things that I do every day are the exact things that the self-image, the person that I see myself as, does every day in relation to the vision. Number 3, and by the way, none of it is facilitated by force. Those are the actual things you really want to do, which are an embodiment of that self-image. Number 3, set up routines to allow creative thinking. Now, I'm a fan of having flex, as in creative flow, and not having routines and structure. And also, I like to use routines and structure, depending. I'm a person of ratios. So I like to set up a routine in the morning. My workday is kind of flexible, but there is a way of going about my workday. And my end of day is generally very flexible. It's whatever I feel like doing, and I allow my subconscious mind to express what I feel like doing. And what I notice is when I allow myself to engage in a ratio like this, is I have creative thinking to help me solve whatever we would say as problems that show up on the day-to-day journey to bringing forth the vision, which is part of the entrepreneurial success journey. You could say, what do we really do in entrepreneurship? Is we help people solve problems, or we solve our own problems. And these problems end up becoming the solutions for our own business and solutions that we offer to others, either through product or service or consulting or something like that. But that's all facilitated through the routines and the creative thinking that flows as a result of putting the right amount of routines in place. Now, number 4 is the consistency. This consistency, maintaining the ideal state of mind, flow-based day, is done through repetition, and you want to do these things, and you remove the unnecessary resistance that prevents you from doing these things through identifying the subconscious interpretations, the beliefs and assumptions within, and change it. So then translates to ideal behaviors that we know we have to do, done from a place of flow, as well as allowing hunches, inspirations to show up, to experience what we otherwise refer to as quantum leaps or big breakthroughs or sudden changes in the outer world or inner world concept of self and so forth that brings forth a result in a way that we might not have consciously been able to figure it out. That's done through the power of the subconscious. Now, the only things that I do to help facilitate this is self-talk, revision, subconscious mind audios, or any kind of affirmation. And by the way, my affirmations tend to be more like stories or inner dialogue because I find that to be more natural for me. For example, if I was to take this and turn it into an affirmation, I would say, I recognize more so that I am able to maintain my ideal state of mind by stimulating certain thoughts that are in relation to my vision as a result of dwelling in thoughts that are related to my vision. I find more ideal behaviors and allow myself to step into the embodiment by practicing those ideal behaviors. I recognize the importance of creative thinking and allow my routines, which I know are the accurate routines in relation to my vision, to facilitate that creative thinking. And as a result, it's easier for me to build momentum, maintain the ideal state of mind, affirm the self-image, and stay consistent till I bring forth my success. So we're doing this both consciously and subconsciously. The subconscious and the conscious mind are working together. The subconscious has the self-image, the concept of self. And the conscious mind is the watchman at the gate, further affirming the ideal self-image by observing any false impressions that are not in harmony with the ideal self-image, which is the embodiment of the vision. And what we want to also do as a result of this is further develop our conscious mind. And so I have 4 ways that can help you with this. Now, James Allen, in his book, The Heavenly Life, says it really well when he says, "That which is done now remains. That which is to be done tomorrow does not appear. It is wisdom to leave that which has not arrived, and to attend to that which is, and to attend to it with such a consecration of soul and concentration of effort as shall leave no possible loophole for regret to creep in." Now, what he's saying is maintaining the presence in the day-to-day and valuing each aspect of the day-to-day and doing it from the perspective of the self-image. And we're doing this, and this is conscious concentration of mind to further develop the conscious ability to keep the garden of the mind, or maintain the ideal state of mind, or maintain what we refer to as the mental diet, by engaging ourselves with the day-to-day activities. So here's 4 ways that we can do it. Number 1, be positively engaged with what you do. Keeping the mind focused on what you know you have to do further stimulates what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done. This is the concept of Wu Wei, knowing when to act and when not to act. This is done by being engaged in flow with the day-to-day journey, valuing the journey, enjoying the journey, and seeing it as in harmony and in contribution with the vision. Number 2, be less critical and a little bit more tolerant of other people. What we find in this journey is many can be thrown off by what other people have to say and their opinions and so forth. And what we want to do is understand that perhaps they're looking at reality from different perspectives in relation to different visions, whether they're conscious of it or not. This frees ourselves from the excessive need to identify with certain thought processes that bring us into different states of mind. Number 3, live the ideal self-image. So this is what James Allen was referring to. We know that we are on the journey to bringing forth what we desire, the vision, by embodying the self-image. Being that person right now and doing those things that we know are in harmony with that vision. Thinking those things that are in harmony with the vision. The simple way to identify what are the thoughts and behaviors is to observe in your imagination, what would that self-image, how you see yourself to be, do, think, behave, respond, and so forth, interpret, and embody those elements in this present now. Number 4, mindfully respond as intelligently as possible. So not only are these elements valuable for helping us maintain the ideal state of mind, the embodiment of the self-image that's one with the vision, but this also further develops our conscious mind and allows us to maintain that consistency of the responsibility of being the watchman at the gate. Now, one doesn't have to be perfect at this, but if a person wants to maintain a more flow-based journey to the destination, then this information can be very helpful, because what it's really doing is it's targeting from many different perspectives, everything but the kitchen sink, the self-image, which is one with the desired outcome, thus bringing us more into what he says, as it is performed, but in relaxing and letting the job do itself through you. If you want to copy this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.